Day holds a significant importance for CSIR-NEERI, considering the environmental technologies developed for a sustainable future. To celebrate and mark this special day at CSIR-NEERI, we have with us Dr. R. Sonde, Professor, Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Delhi, as the chief guest. I take the privilege to request Mr. Prakash Kumhare, Senior Principal Scientist, CSIR-NEERI, to escort the dignitaries to the dais. May I now request Dr. Sadhna Riley, Senior Most Principal Scientist, CSIR-NEERI, to welcome the chief guest with a clapping as a token of gratitude for hosting this occasion. I now request Dr. Sadhna Riley to deliver the welcome.
Respected Dr. Sonde, dignitaries of the dais, retired scientists and colleagues, my colleagues as well as students, a very good morning to you all. First and foremost, on behalf of Dr. Atul Vaidya, our director, Nilians, and myself, I welcome Dr. Sonde and thank him for accepting our invitation to be here today on this occasion. I'm sure we are all aware that he has done a favor for us because he definitely has a very, very hectic schedule, but he accepted this invitation to share his thoughts with the younger generation. Throughout his stellar career, Dr. Sonde has made indelible contributions in technological advancements for our country, which has definitely inspired millions in the process. No wonder he has been bestowed with several national and international recognitions, which I'm sure Dr. Devishri will be reading later on. He has exemplary contribution as far as technological interventions are concerned, and Devishri will be giving the details of those. However, I would definitely like to mention a very important thing that Sir has been tirelessly propagating the culture of innovation. And we were the beginners, okay, one among the beginners who have learned a lot from him. That is, first thing is he was propagating culture of innovation. And secondly, he is a very, very strong advocate of developing IP protected disruptive technologies. He's like a treasure for us as far as technology development is concerned. And a round of applause for him. Well, our interaction with Sir started way back in 2005. Sir has been guiding us for a very, very important theme of CCUS, that is carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. And he's still continuing to guide us in this particular subject to get one of the sector in CCUS at our institute as part of DST sponsored Center of Excellence, which was inaugurated last month as part of One Week, One Lab program. Well, having said that, I would now come to the theme of today's celebration. And before I start with it, I'd like to quote the very thought-provoking statement of Alan Kay, which says that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. I repeat, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Well, I think it is indeed something very good to ponder and deliberate. Devashri did give a few lines about National Technology Day, but I personally feel that the awareness of why National Technology Day is celebrated is still not very common. It needs to be remembered India conducted Pokhran 2 tests, wherein a series of 5 nuclear explosion tests were conducted in Indian Army's test range at Pokhran, that is in Rajasthan. This was done under the leadership of the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So, National Technology Day is celebrated to commemorate the successful vision of the Pokhran field test. I think with his background in nuclear energy, Sir would be able to throw more into this very successful vision of our country. Every year, National Technology Day is selected or celebrated on a different topic and a different theme. The theme of today is very relevant to 50 to 60% of the crowd over here. And the theme is school to startups. The focus is igniting young minds to innovate. And I think there could not have been a better speaker, a motivator, or teacher, or a mentor than Professor Sode. And I'm really happy that he's here with us to share his views and thoughts on this particular theme. I strongly believe that in today's world, where the importance of technology is paramount, we must definitely celebrate this day and make technology education one of the best across the globe. As we all know, this day honors the contributions of scientists and engineers in the nation's technological sphere or sector. And in this context, also, Professor Sonjay has a significant contribution to make, which you will be sensitized with during his lectures. The National Technology Day is celebrated across the country by undertaking various research activities which emphasizes the role of technology in making a contemporary society. At our institute today, we are doing two things. One is to increase the awareness and the importance of the technology in making a contemporary society. And in this context, the thought-provoking lecture of Dr. Sode will definitely be an eye-opener for all of us. I am confident that the forthcoming lecture shall give the most recent developments in green energy, green hydrogen, CCUS, environment, and energy nexus, name it. And I think he is the best motivator we can have in all these fields. Besides that, I'm sure he will be able to inspire the younger generation sitting over here to speak and continue with their careers in science and technology, which is the need of the day. Besides this very motivating address which we have planned, we have also arranged for several demonstrations and displays of technologies for different colleges which are here with us today, sir. This will definitely help to promote innovation, research, and progress, which is the prime objective of celebrating National Technology Day. In this context, I'm also happy to share that NEERI, some time back, released a compendium of technologies which are very relevant for industrial as well as society connects. And these technologies relate to energy as well as environment. And in environment, these technologies are for different components like air, water, solid, waste management, so on and so forth. To name a few of the technologies which have been very recently developed and also part of the compendium which has been made, the first, of course, is the saline gargle technology, which is a very, very popular technology which was developed during the crisis of pandemic, and that accentuates or underlines the fact that necessity is the mother of invention. Another very important technology is rainbow, which is restoring nalas with ecological units, and this particular technology was bestowed with CSIR Technology Award in 2020. Another very important technology developed by an institute is green firecrackers, and this technology was also bestowed the CSI Technology Award in 2021. And I'm happy to share with the gathering over here that this particular technology of green firecrackers has been transferred to more than 1,100 licensees in our country, which is probably one of the highest technology transfers as far as this. We also have some very popular technologies which are already there in, in the market. One is the green crematorium. This is also being installed and functional at Delhi. We have a technology of LOH, that is liquid organic hydride based hydrogen storage, which is to be commercialized shortly. We have Green Disco and Sanchar, which is addressing the issue of menstrual waste management. Green Disco, I believe, has been licensed and commercialized very extensively. Same is true with eco-friendly cook stores, which have been taken across different rural sectors in our country. We have drone for environmental monitoring, the demonstrations of which are planned for today. And one of the classic example of lab to land use of our institute is decontamination of mercury contaminated soil. And this is a very successful process which has been demonstrated and existed in Kodaikanal. There are definitely many more in the pipeline, which probably will be announced next year by our director. Now, as we celebrate the National Technology Day, we also need to understand the world is evolving at an unprecedented rate, and therefore it's more important that we understand the significance of STEM and STEAM. STEM, I'm sure you all know, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But there is a new paradigm shift in that now. It's called STEAM, which incorporates arts into STEM. And that is why STEM and STEAM are more important. Now, why STEAM is important? STEAM has the arts component, which takes care of the design and creativity. And design and creativity is essential now because we have to address the growing technological needs of the 21st century. So, taking all these factors into account, the technology development, if you say per se, definitely need very good mentors who have a deep understanding of the complexities of technologies, the TRL ratings, the STEM, and the related subjects. So in this context, we are blessed to have Professor Sundi here with us today as navigator and a motivator to help nurture critical thinking and problem solving skills, which are essentially required if we have to take these technologies across the country. I shall close by quoting Bill Gates. Technology is just a tool in terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them. The teacher is important. So I welcome our teacher, mentor, once again to share his thought-provoking address and capturing the audience as usual. Let's embrace the power of technology and create a better world. I conclude with this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lars. You have indeed given us a wonderful insight on the importance of science, technology, and creativity, and the NEERI's role as an institute in contributing to technological innovations. Thank you so much, ma'am. So we rarely get an opportunity to listen to the words of eminent personalities, and that too in the field of science and technology. We are fortunate that we have such personalities with us today. I consider it as a great honor to introduce the chief guest of today's event, Dr. R.R. Sunday. He is a PhD from IIT Bombay. Dr. Sunday joined Thermax Limited after an illustrious 25-year career with the Department of Atomic Energy. He then rose to the position of Executive Vice President, Research Technology and Innovation at Thermax Limited. Dr. Sunday is currently working as professor at Department of Chemical Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. His involvement in energy and environment has led to development of different technologies which include clean coal technologies, heat pumping technologies, advanced combustion technologies, water and wastewater. The new areas of his research interest include solar energy systems, particularly solar thermal energy systems, including optics, structural design, coatings, absorber design, and control system design. His research interests also include the development of high efficiency power conversion devices for low rate energy. Dr. Sonde is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering. He is on the board of National Board of Accreditation and is also a visiting professor at the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. He was awarded Dr. Homi Bhabha Gold Medal by the Prime Minister in 2006 for his outstanding contributions in the field of nuclear energy. Dr. Sonde was also a member of CSIR-NEERI Research Council during 2017 and 2019. With that, I request the Chief Guest, Dr. R. Sonde, to deliver the keynote lecture. Over to you.
Thank you very much for introducing me to the audience here, and thanks, Sadhna, for raising expectations from the audience about my speech. Actually, I have not really thought what is that message that I'm going to give, but seeing the young minds here motivates me to actually bring the essence of science and technology in next maybe 20 to 30 minutes, what is relevant to this particular nation. Good morning. Greetings on this important occasion of National Science and Technology Day. And as Sam has mentioned, the importance of National Technology Day on 11th May, I don't want to repeat it again. But as I was entering into this campus, I just saw suddenly a change in NEERI. You know, the old roads were very well curated, very well painted. And suddenly, you know, when you see a nice curated campus, my mind also got decluttered. What I'm saying is that a small thing like, you know, keeping your things around that very aesthetically kept, like what she talked about, this particular arts or humanities in our approach is very important. I mean, because many times, you know, we have a clutter in our mind. You go to your laboratories, so many things are put up in that. And one day you just try to put them in order. In a very nice manner, it doesn't require too much of an effort. And you suddenly find that your mind also gets decluttered. So I'm very happy to see a very well painted and a very nice green campus after a long time, and it made me very happy. You know, a smile just automatically came to me. My dear friends and young students here, I would like to kind of tell you that today technology, science and technology has become a very, very powerful tool in the hands of majority of the nations. To that extent, that technology can be a great weapon in showing the dominance. It has been there all throughout of the so-called industrial revolutions and every country wanting to kind of score over the other country. Technology has been used as a weapon, and today the power of the technology has grown several fold, and hence this particular mastering of this technology by every nation has become very essential, very essential. And I will deliver and detail out why it is so essential today when you are entering into a world which is artificial intelligence, which can actually then make your entire system self-deciding, and therefore it can really be used in a manner which we cannot even imagine. And therefore, when I sit in an academic institutions and look at the global happenings on the technology, and just to give an illustration, what China is doing, I don't want to bring China into today's discussions. The amount of focus that one country is doing on proliferating in getting into this new technology, the amount of publication, the amount of startups, the amount of incubations, the top universities out of the list of 100, it sometimes scares me because the hegemonism or the dominance, which was westward all these years, when they understood the importance of the technology as a dominance over the world, is shifting to a highly authoritarian nation like China and mentioning it very explicitly. And therefore, we have to be absolutely aware what is that as a nation India has to do to get our dominance and don't strip that dominance out of our consideration. Every nation, you take Germany, you take US, are concerned and therefore they are also bringing momentum in building this new technology. But what has happened, my dear students and my dear friends here, all this while, maybe 10 years back, human beings would always say that we are the masters. We developed supersonics. We developed atom bomb. We developed many technological devices. But one thing was very clear that human dominance was there. It is the human beings who will decide when to use these technological tools, whether it's a nuclear bomb or whether it is any kind of a device that are built. So we thought that the wisdom of the human beings will always enable to use this particular device at the discretion of the person or the human beings which will decide when to use it. Now switch from that to the current situation. In a very, I would say, elementary form of artificial intelligence. You are seeing today that the device is taking decisions on your behalf. Have you noticed this at a very, I would say, at a very elementary level, rudimentary level? Today, the devices are deciding. And imagine now, tomorrow, such a device becomes intelligent enough, far intelligent enough, with no consciousness in them, they will decide itself. So the change that has happened is that the decision-making capability will be now taken out of the human beings and it will be done by the so-called artificial intelligence as a tool. My dear students, I just want you to just think out what I'm saying. Just pause and think out that scenario, which is not very far, which will happen in maybe next a decade or so in the active lifespan of yours. And then you realize when that happens, then the utility of human beings will be just limited to only those people who will actually develop these tools. Today, when a chat GPT can write a code by itself, shows us that the human beings used to say, ultimately, we will write the code. That also freedom is taken out of human beings. And now you start imagining that it starts building all these things, and then some of these authoritarian governments start using these tools. You can very well imagine where this will lead. The artificial intelligence, the genetic manipulations can completely change the face of the earth. And that is the power of new technology, which is absolutely very different than what I used to be. I mean, when I was working in India's economic agenda, I was feeling very great that we have developed this kind of a deterrent for India. Today, when to use that deterrent, when to press the button, may actually be out of the human control. And hence, my dear friends here, the importance of technology. And as she mentioned, and bringing that humanities in technology has become extremely important. If you just build technology and technology and technology, build intelligence and intelligence and intelligence, and increase that intelligence, you will get into a position where that sharp intelligence will decide everything without keeping into mind any kinds of consciousness or human sentiments or emotions which are so important. Because it is only the sentient beings which can have those emotions, which will actually bring a kind of a self-control on how to use and when to use and when not to use the technology. And if you remove this a philosophical approach onto this particular technological tool, then it is a clear disaster in the making. Come back to India. Let me now come back to India. My dear students, India is today a $3 trillion economy. $3 trillion economy. We are 1.45 billion people. Our per capita income is at about $2,500. We are fifth largest economy. All these things are in its place. But what we see in next 3 decades, that is by 2050, you can imagine many of you maybe 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of age would have all gone, disappeared into the Mother Earth. By 2050, India will become a $30 trillion economy. From a $3 trillion economy to a $30 trillion economy. Which means that the per capita income by that time would reach about $18,000 per person per year. Why I'm giving you these numbers is that is the level at which the so-called Human Development Index, HDI, which is a parameter of how well citizens of any nation are living their life, or it is not only the city, it's the entire population, is determined by this HDI, and the HDI number is about $18,000 per capita. And India will hit that number when we are now hitting about 7 to 7.5% growth every year. I don't know how many of you can correlate what I'm saying, but just assume that India is going to be becoming from a $3 trillion to a $30 trillion in just next 30 years. What does that mean? That means what is India today, which also we feel, yeah, India is developing, we have to grow 10 times in next 30 years. How many times? 10 times we have to grow in next less than 30 years. Which means that what we took for last 75 years since independence, we have to grow 10 times in 1/3 of its time. 10 times growth at 1/3 time. It is inevitable. It has to happen. It has to happen from the minds and brains of all the young Indians. And that is the greatest hope, the demographic dividend that we are talking about. And hence, a great amount of responsibility lies in all of you to ensure that India does not miss this target. Because there are many countries which started well. I can name them: Malaysia, Thailand, Southeast Asia, many countries. They started, but they taper off at about $7,500 per capita, which is known as the mid-income trap, MIT. And mid-income trap, if India gets into this, which means we will be only kind of plateauing at about $10 trillion economy, then India can never come out of this. Today, China, why it is giving that booster dose in science and technology is to ensure, because there is a problem in this particular Asian region, that we grow and then we become stable. South Korea has been able to come out of it. Japan has already done that during the Second World War. China is now understanding that it has to take out of that particular part of inflation. India will reach in next 7 years that $7,000 as its per capita. And there if you get stuck, and if you don't open up that, then we will realize that India can never meet the aspirations of this 1/6 population of the world. I don't know, my dear friends, whether what I'm saying is resonating very well within you. When India became independence, before the independence, when colonization has happened, that the huge suppression happened in India, there are people like C.V. Raman, such a great personality, who actually, under a minimum conditions, minimum availability of infrastructure, could go on to win a Nobel Prize. There were 3-4 scientists, Meghnad Saha, they all work to ensure that India expresses under extreme oppressive conditions. That was their ambition. Post-independence, there were scientists like Homi Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai, and many of those people that was kind of a generation before me, whose aspiration at that point in time was to make India at least self-reliant in high technology. And therefore, when I joined Atomic Energy Commission in the 70s and 80s, our aspiration at that point in time is how do we make India self-reliant in high technology? You can't imagine what is India in 70s and 80s. You can't imagine. Only very few here in this gathering will know what it is. And the kind of deficit economy that we were used to. In those days, to build a complex nuclear technology, when the global big nations, which used to be called as London Club, decided to deny technology to India, it required a great amount of vision to make that happen. And those are the people, and we were young graduates coming out of the academic institutions, didn't have any experience. We were thrown into this place and said, develop this technology for India. And this leadership allowed us to make mistakes in Calcutta. When I look back, what Atomic Energy offered me and molded myself as a complete human being is allowed me to make mistakes. It absorbed my mistakes. It didn't bring any constraints and allowed to develop a complex technology. That was iconic. I'm indebted ever for being a part of this, and that reflects in all throughout my career. India became self-reliant. Today, one of the leading nations in nuclear energy, we can transfer it all over the world. And then 80s, 90s, there's a different set of situation happened when people like Narayan Murthy's and Asif Premji's, they started making India a powerhouse of enterprise and innovation. Infosys started with 10,000 rupees. Today, it's one of the darlings of the best of the companies. Why? Because these were the people who thought outside the so-called high technology, how do we really bring economy, prosperity from science? Science for its own sake has no meaning unless you convert science into a big enterprise. And they knew why US is number one country, because a pathway to push science into making a big, prosperous business entity is the method which was missing. Even though it is missing, they tried to make it happen. And that was a change which is now you are seeing, which has propelled India from a lowly $100 million $3,000 billion, which is $3 trillion economy. Enormous. 1991 is that point of inflection when India opened its economy. But every point there has been a booster, which happened from Raman to Baba to Seta to some of these leaders. So when I look back, what should be their aspirations today? Young generation, what should be your aspirations? And that is something which makes, and that's one of the reasons that I joined back academics, thinking that the young generation should understand what are their aspirations. When India is going to become a $30 trillion economy, what should be your aspirations? How do you really make India meet this requirement of that magic number of $80,000 per capita? I don't care whether India becomes number one, two, three. It is just these numbers do not bother us. It is that we are able to offer opportunities and just economy is an equity based economy to all the people, and therefore that is a huge opportunities. What is India today? By 2050, 10 times more India will have to be built. Imagine that from today, which we take pride in what is India today, in 30 years, India will have to be 10 times bigger in its economy. Which means that all things we are making steel, we have to make 10 times. We are making cement, we have to make 10 times. We are making petrochemicals, we have to make 10 times. We are making pharmaceuticals, we have to make 10 times. So everything will be multiplied by 10x. 10x. Which means that the economy, $30 trillion economy, will include all these elements. And they will not be based on what we have developed. Why? Because the new economy of India will have to be based on a green economy. So the challenge for India is not only to grow exponentially in just 30 years in your active career, but you have to do it not in a conventional way. It has to be anything but conventional. And that is an additional constraint which is put on us. Why? Why? Because of the climate change. But if we don't do it, then this growth will have no meaning because there is no earth, there is no human beings on the earth if we don't do it. So look at this conundrum that India is facing. The leading nations have developed their economy based on a fossil, very cheap energy, very inefficient energies, and they could quickly build. And today, what you have to do is just replace the current economy with a green economy. Simple equation. I mean, it's not so simple, but at least they know what they have to do. What India has to do? It is India has to grow 10 times, and the 10 times growth has to be on a completely green platform. It's a double challenge for us. And therefore, when I sit back and look at the challenge upon us to meet this demand, I sometimes get it. Are we equipped to handle such a situation? In our scientific institutions, academic institutions, industries, civil society, politicians, are we understanding this problem in its entirety? I sit in Delhi. Everybody is looking for what is that I can do in next 2 years, 3 years, how much votes I can get, how much my career I can reach. Everybody is losing this perspective. They're putting in a bias, in an illusion, and forgetting what is that you have to do it. And I'm saying it, my dear friends, not to I'm saying that this is the real thing that we need to solve. And hence, I thought, let me give you my idea in next whatever 10 minutes about what is that we can do. If you have understood the problem, if you have understood the challenges, let me tell you how should we handle this nation. Because all of us have to agree to this, that India has to grow. It is the fundamental right of every citizen of this country to grow. There is no way that you can take that away and say that you remain poor because of the climate change. No way. There's no question on this. But then, how do we do it? There are maybe 5 mantras that I have, which I'll try to kind of explain to the best capability that I have. Number one, Sadhana mentioned about it. We need to be innovative society. That is number one. Now, all of you say, oh, sir, we have heard this number of times. Because innovation itself causes relevance. Well, often we do some incremental thing and call it as innovation. My dear friends, today, when I say that India has to become an innovative society, it is not only in the field of science, technology, or enterprise. We have to be innovative in everything that we are doing in our day-to-day activities. Innovation should become our second nature. And unless we do that, as I said, many countries lost their capability to reach this $18,000 because they stopped being innovative. Malaysia was that example. Indonesia was that example. A lot of countries in the Eastern Europe, they stopped being innovative. If India stops being innovative, I don't think we can reach this number, and we'll be doing a great disservice to this nation if we don't. So, what do you mean by innovation? Is the science laws to be changed for innovation? No. All those laws of physics will continue to be there. The innovation is how do I now use the same fundamental laws of science, laws of physics, LAWS, laws of physics, into entirely new way of examining this. And today, 2023, those tools are healthily available to us. And therefore, when I teach a subject on this innovation, a full course in IIT Delhi is a highly popular subject. It brings about what is this magic brand of innovation that we have to internalize in us. When I say that I'm developing a sodium sulfur battery and I want the sulfur has to be residing in a meta-organic framework which needs a four engineer structure at a scale of 160 kilowatt hours, then you realize that you need to have that particular cathode. I'm just giving an example, an enormous area to be made available because the polysulfides cannot be residing in a smaller area, which will come into the electrolyte and completely take away the enormous benefit of a sodium metal battery compared to a lithium ion batteries. So when you look at it, today that tool is available. The drift wave walk coming from the family of the system what your institution is working here, we have developed a system which gives you hold of breath 6,300 meters square per gram, 2 football courts in 1 gram of that particular substance. I'm just giving you an example as an illustration. What is changed from what was 10 years back? Today, when we say that I want to engineer a particular substance, we do a completely inward model of development, which is known as computer-aided molecular design, CSIR-NEERI. I teach that course because today, earlier in our time, we have something available, solvent or some material, and we build the pyramid from bottom to the top, hoping that that is the constraint in synthesis. But today, I say no. I invert the model. I say I want this as my target number, which is based on the specific energy. And then I say, how do I engineer a represent or a DMC to actually meet my requirements? So the capability to bring huge computational thing into a molecular level synthesis and then scale it up is something which is available. And that is the true nature of innovation. I can go on giving you example, and some of them are improving the process of intensification. How can you intensify? Because today there are three tools which are available to you: the nano tool, the bio tool, and the photonics tool, which have come together. And therefore, disciplines are just vanishing their boundaries. Unless I tell it to my scientists also, unless we bring these aspects into our keep on thinking, we cannot build big devices. So innovation is the need of the day, need of the hour. Number two, very important, my dear friends, which is unfortunately lacking in our country. We talk about it, but we don't practice it. Collaboration. We don't collaborate. What we need today is collaboration and collaboration and collaboration. We are, on the other hand, I see it in my own institute. I know even if I'm older outside, we don't collaborate. One department does not collaborate with the other department. One CSIR institute, we say we collaborate, but we don't do it in a manner which really could have built huge technology for this country. We're missing many of these revolutions because we are not truly collaborating. And I really sometimes start wondering why. When the opportunity is so much, why don't we collaborate? Why are we scared? Why are we putting the boundaries? The problems are humongous. Opportunities are enormous. And why are we not able to collaborate or break the boundaries in the point that who gets the credit is causing a lot of challenge. Such a huge intellect. Unless we bring the networks of brains together, we will not be able to solve those problems. Somebody else will say that we'll solve India's problem, and then what is happening in Delhi? The people who colonize are coming back and telling us that your problems are our problem, we'll solve the problem, and many times the bureaucracy and everything, they are solving the problem for us. Let us only wait and do what they solve the problem. Hence, whether it is a green energy, whether it is a green agriculture, whether it's a health, every aspect, I think we need to collaborate. We need to show the power of our collaboration in developing big technologies. I'm making my attempt. And whether it's a hydrogen valley that I'm working today, or whether I'm working on this energy storage, or whether I'm working on fuel cells, I'm ensuring that how do I bring multiple fertile minds together with that promise that everybody stands to gain if we collaborate. Number three, we need to accelerate. I don't think that we are doing justice because, as I said, in 3 decades, if India has to do it, and in 5 decades, India has to be net zero, how do we do it? Still, we are deep hostage in laboratory and doing it at some grand scale. No way. We need to scale up our experiments. We need to fail first. Do I have the wisdom to do the last experiment first? Last experiment first. And that would mean enormous amount of using the computational power to understand that this is my last experiment upon which I now either go out and say this is the product or I close. Unfortunately, we hold on to those ideas for 20 years back, which are good. And if they have not seen the light of the day, it's better we abandon and look at new things. Because 3 decades, if you want to do all the problems that we have to solve, we need to accelerate. Number 4, and she has already talked about it, and that's my favorite, is that engineering science has to be brought back on the strength of STEM-based education. Education need to bring. I was sharing with her, and this is my common This is 3.5 years I've been to IIT Delhi. I take a large number of courses. But the interest of the young students to get back into the core engineering is diminishing. Any amount of motivation is not making them that they must actually, as you were saying, sir, I have done nothing but science and technology in my and that's a true to most of the senior people here. We don't know anything beyond that. Whereas the younger generation are not attracted by the amazing power of science and technology. I mean, when I said that when we're developing a DAWR or developing a tritium, which is required for the nuclear arsenal, the excitement of doing that was several fold higher than whatever was the compensation that was provided to, which was very meager at that point in time. Some 600 rupees was our monthly salary. We never bothered because that was the fruitless way that we could live, but the motivation that we are developing such a power, bringing it to the nation and to ourselves, because we were exploring deeper and deeper into the universe when you develop anything. And that excitement is missing. Maybe we as teachers are responsible for not creating that interest in you people. Maybe the outside world is far more attractive to do non-scientific, non-engineering science-based education. And therefore, I would request that today onwards, you must look at this STEM-based education. And as you said, that we need to bring humanities in our district. Because as I said, humanities is extremely important. Because artificial intelligence, if it goes on this highway or a super highway of developing huge amount of algorithmic based decision making, which takes out of you the supreme power of making decision, the so-called free will of human beings, then you can imagine we are in great danger unless we bring back humanities in our own right. How do you bring that up? How do you bring ethics? How do you bring value system? How do you bring morality? How do you bring principles back into your writing the code requires a decision which has to be taken today. Philosophers thought about it 1,000 years back. Philosophy could run, science could run, nothing, no conflict. Only church and temple made use of the science to proliferate superstitions more. That's the unfortunate nature of the scientific discoveries. Many of the scientific discoveries created more superstitions than solving. And I can give you an example how, and that's what is happening in case of the social media. All fake news are accepted as authentic ones. So that could be the tool of this particular science today. And therefore, how to ensure that we are able to use this powerful tool, which could bring enormous amount of benefits to the humanity, while it can also be acted as a negative tool, which needs to be done, requires this level of education. Emotional quotient, mind flexibility, mental flexibility is extremely important. In our own institute, we are now understanding how important IQ, EQ is better than IQ. Because every now 5 years, technology will change and all the people will have to adjust to the new areas. And how do you then keep your mind flexible enough? We could do the same science for last 30 years, 40 years. But today, you'll be asked to change your career every maybe 5 years. Because there is a kind of a growth in particular science. It will go, new science will come. New skills will required to be developed. And therefore, you need to be in a constant move. And if the mind is not able to be flexible enough to understand this variation, there will be difficult. There will be all this so-called depression, everything will come. And therefore, it's very important that emotional stability is brought in education. Why? To bring also the higher powers of intelligence gap. And the last, my dear friends, is bring sustainability as a part of your thing. Sustainable development. Ask this question not for the sake of just understanding this sustainability, but living sustainable. How do we do that? How to bring this whole aspect about sustainability? What we call the energy transit. Everything has to be done because today we are depleting the earth at 70% more than what the earth can live. So I sometimes thinking, I'll be away, I'll be gone out of this in next 20 years. Maybe. But when you look at this, the next generation, then you realize, oh my God, if the soil loses its all fertility in next 20, 30 years, if the water is going to be contaminated, if air is all the five Bhutas, which are so essential for living, are going to be degraded, then where is it going to lead all this economy? What is it for? $30 trillion economy, human development index is meaningless. What I started. So look at in my just 15 minutes, I'm calling myself because unless you bring sustainability, and how do you bring sustainability in your thinking? That requires a great amount of understanding about the way the nature is building itself. And there are lessons to be learned. IIT Delhi is setting up an institute in Abu Dhabi on the BS of Government of India, and having one of the on that system because the UAE sultans want us to talk on MTech course on sustainability. Just about a week back, I was talking to the top leadership. So everybody is understanding sustainable, not because that oil is going to go away, but they realize that if you don't develop your economy sustainable basis. So what is sustainability, my dear friends? I cannot talk. I would need another couple of hours to talk about it, and I think I've already exceeded the time that was allotted to me. I don't mind having a couple of questions that we have got on this. So coming to a concluding part, this innovation, collaboration, acceleration, sustainable living, and education, which is full of these kind of fertile ideas in humanities, arts, which is very embedded in the basic education, is perhaps the way that the young generation can equip itself, arm itself, empower itself to ensure that India is going to be, as we say, the Vishwa Guru, or what we say, Vasu Daiva Kutumbakam, one earth. I mean, G20 must have seen that one earth, one family, and one nation, one world is something that we can really do it because time has come to act and ensure that we are true to ourselves in every which way and make this country a great country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an energetic and thought-provoking speech. As you said, technology is a great weapon, and I'm sure that everyone present here, especially the students, are inspired to make a justified use of this weapon and implement those 5 mantras to achieve the sustainable future. Thank you so much, sir. Now, it's time to honor the chief guest, and may I request Dr. Sadhana Naidu, Senior Most Scientist, CSIR-NEERI, to honor the chief guest by presenting the gathering.
Pleasure, sir.
Thank you so much. I now request Mr. Prakash Kumhar, sir, to propose the vote of thanks.
आदरणीय सोने सर, राइडू मैडम और सभी आमंत्रित और मेरे प्रिय स्टूडेंट्स, शिक्षक, टीचर्स, प्रोफेसर्स, मीडिया पर्सन्स, मैं हिंदी में बोलना पसंद करूंगा क्योंकि जितनी ऊर्जा से हमारे मुख्य अतिथि ने भाषण दिया, तो मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा सा ऊर्जा का जो मैं भी थोड़ा सा अंदर से काफी ऊर्जा में हो गया और उस ऊर्जा को मैं आपके सामने थोड़ा सा एक उनकी जो पहली बातें हैं उसका कुछ संक्षिप्त में मैं आपके सामने रखना चाहूंगा उनको उन बातों को। सबसे पहले उन्होंने उनके भाषण में मैंने ह्यूमैनिटी बहुत शब्द सुना जो था। उन्होंने साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी ह्यूमैनिटी, तो ह्यूमैनिटी से मुझे दो चीजें याद आई जब बैठा था मैं कि साइंस जो है वो जुड़ा हुआ है इथिक्स से, और साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी मतलब इथिक्स से जुड़ी हुई है दोनों चीजें, और साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी मोरालिटी से भी जुड़ी हुई है। मतलब जब भी कुछ हम साइंस करें या टेक्नोलॉजी करें, चाहे साइंटिस्ट हो, चाहे स्टूडेंट्स हो, चाहे प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हो, डिसर्टेशन कर रहे हो, चाहे पीएचडी थीसिस कर रहे हो, तो जब भी हम कोई प्रोजेक्ट अपना शुरू करते हैं तो उसको मुझे लगता है हमें ये दो चीजों का ध्यान रखना है जो 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 ह्यूमैनिटी बार बार कहा है। तो मुझे लगता है जो इथिक्स है मेन, उसका मैं आपको उदाहरण दूंगा। सर ने न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी में काम किया है और काफी एटॉमिक एनर्जी में भी रहे हैं। तो आपको मैं सर का थोड़ा सा मतलब भाषण का ही वो उसमें लेके मैं उसको थोड़ा सा, इंडिया आज तक न्यूक्लियर सप्लाई ग्रुप का मेंबर नहीं हो पाया है। इसका रीजन आप में से बहुत लोगों को पता होगा, क्योंकि सर ने जो पहले कहा कि चाइना और यूएसए जो कंट्रीज है, फ्रांस जो न्यूक्लियर जायंट्स है, न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी को जो समझते हैं कि हम उसके पावर हाउस है, तो उन्होंने इंश्योर किया। आप देखेंगे कि न्यूक्लियर साइंस ग्रुप का जब भी कोई अपोजिशन आया है इस मेंबर बनने के लिए, इवन यूएसए ने भी शायद सर 2008 में उन्होंने अपना एक रुख थोड़ा नरम किया जो बैरक ओबामा इंडिया आए थे 2010 में, लेकिन इंडिया को तब भी चाइना ने अपोज किया। चाइना ने कहा कि नहीं, इंडियन न्यूक्लियर सप्लाई ग्रुप का मेंबर नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि एक एनपीटी है उसके लिए जो टेक्नोलॉजी और नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन, सॉरी, ट्रीटी ऑन नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन ऑफ न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का एक ट्रीटी है जिसके तहत ये एनएसजी ग्रुप बना। और एनपीटी के जो है उसका एनपीटी में इंडिया ने नहीं किया क्योंकि उसकी जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस थी इंडिया को रास नहीं आई और उसने उसका सदस्य नहीं बना। तो इसके लिए हमेशा चाइना जो है अभी अपोज कर रहा है। तो कहने का मतलब मेरा ये है सरकार जो स्पीच था, जो चीजें थी, उसमें जो इथिक्स था, मोरालिटी थी, तो मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि सर ने बहुत चाइना का जो किया है, चाइना ही साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप करे या अमेरिका ही करे, ऐसा उनका मानना है। लेकिन इंडिया क्यों पीछे रहे, हमारा अपना मानना है। तो हमारे जो भी अभी जो यंग जनरेशन है, जो सर ने जो कहा है अपने स्पीच पे, तो इन चीजों को हम कैसे ओवरकम करें, क्योंकि इंडिया आज भी एनएसजी का, क्योंकि न्यूक्लियर सप्लाई ग्रुप में सदस्य नहीं होने के कारण बट न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी का जो टेक्नोलॉजीज है उससे अभी हम इतने मतलब इम्पोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट जो भी है वो चीज नहीं कर पा रहे। वो इसलिए है क्योंकि हम उन्हीं कंट्रीज में शामिल नहीं है, जबकि हम मानते हैं कि हम न्यूक्लियर पावर में हम आत्मनिर्भर है या रिलायंस हो सकते हैं या हो गए हैं, लेकिन हमें वो अभी तक रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिली। वैसा ही तो जो इस सभी जो भाषण था इसमें मुझे जो लगा, तो वैसे सर इथिक्स में आप देखेंगे ह्यूमैनिटी के क्लोनिंग का आपने शिफ्ट डॉली का एक एग्जांपल है बहुत अच्छा, 96 में डॉली जब बना था तो क्लोनिंग का जब इशू आया तो उसमें भी जो ह्यूमैनिटी का ये इशू था और बहुत उसके बाद उसको क्लोनिंग को बैन किया गया है। तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो इथिक्स और मोरालिटी से मोरल से जुड़ी हुई है, और साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी हमेशा, इसलिए साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी तो हम पावर हाउस रहना ही चाहिए, लेकिन जो इथिक्स है मतलब जो लॉ में जो साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी को रेगुलेट करता है वो भी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है। और मुझे लगता है कि सर ने जो चीजें बताई हमें कि साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में जो उन्होंने 5 चीजें बताई, उसमें 5 चीजें पर फिर से थोड़ा सा बहुत अच्छी चीजें हैं वो। एक तो उन्होंने कहा इनोवेटिव सोसाइटी, मतलब उन्होंने ये कहा कि सोसाइटी साइंटिस्ट ही जो है साइंस नहीं करते, लेकिन सोसाइटी का हर सदस्य भी इनोवेटिव होने का कोशिश करेगा, प्रयत्न करेगा, जो कि मैंने कहा जैसे न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी में हम लोग जैसे न्यूक्लियर सप्लाई कर नहीं हो पाए, तो इसकी जो कमी है। दूसरा सर ने एग्जांपल दिया था कि क्लाइमेट चेंज में बहुत सारी ट्रीटीज है, बहुत सारे कन्वेंशंस है, और उसमें भी हमारे जो ये जो सो कॉल्ड कंट्रीज है, यूएसए हो, चाइना हो, ये हमेशा हमें दबाने की कोशिश करते हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज के नाम से, जबकि वो भी ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशंस प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, हम भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमें बोलते हैं कि आप कंट्रोल करो। जैसा न्यूक्लियर में भी मैंने आपको बताया कि न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी आप प्रोड्यूस नहीं कर सकते, हम ही करेंगे। क्लाइमेट चेंज हम ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशंस करेंगे, आप नहीं कर सकते। तो ये इसके लिए हमें बहुत इनोवेटिव और जो उन्होंने बताया एक्सेलरेट करना पड़ेगा। उसके बाद जो उन्होंने बताया एजुकेशन हमें चाहिए, सस्टेनेबिलिटी चाहिए, तो ये जो चीजें हैं कोलैबोरेशन चाहिए। तो ये चीजों को हमें बहुत लाने की जरूरत है सोसाइटी में, और इसके लिए मैंने आपको इसलिए संक्षिप्त में बताया कि ये विषय बहुत गंभीर है आज के दिन, टेक्नोलॉजी। और टेक्नोलॉजी को डेवलप करते समय जब साइंस हो, चाहे इनोवेशन हो, चाहे कोई भी चीज हो, तो हमें ह्यूमैनिटी का हमेशा ध्यान रखना है, एथिक्स और मोरल क्या चीज़ है और हमें अपने जो कॉम्पिटिटर्स है या फिर हमें जो दबाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं और कंट्रीज़ जैसे अमेरिका, चाइना है और बहुत सारी कंट्रीज़ है जिसमें तो वो हमेशा रुख जो है उनका हमारे प्रति नेगेटिव रहा है क्योंकि उनका मानना है कि टेक्नोलॉजी और साइंस हम ही कर सकते हैं, बाकी लोग नहीं कर सकते। तो सस्टेनेबिलिटी में नेरी का दायित्व बढ़ जाता है और सस्टेनेबिलिटी में नेरी जो है इस चीज़ को अच्छे से समझे और मेरे ख्याल से जो आज सर ने जो कहा है ह्यूमैनिटी तो इसमें भी सस्टेनेबिलिटी में बहुत सारी इश्यूज है मैं यहाँ पे डिस्कस नहीं कर सकता लेकिन सर के जो भाषण में जो चीजें आई है वो मैंने दोहराई और मैं समझता हूँ कि आज के दिन ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं तो सर आपका बहुत बहुत थैंक्स आपने हमारे लिए यहाँ पे आज आपका दूसरा असाइनमेंट था लेकिन उस अपॉर्चुनिटी को हमने इस टेक्नोलॉजी डे पे यूज किया और थैंक यू वेरी मच एंड आपका हमेशा जो है लेक्चर हमें बहुत इंस्पायरिंग होता है इंकरेजिंग होता है और कुछ न कुछ लेकर जाता है तो मुझे जो है आपके भाषण से जो मैंने कुछ चीजें बताई तो मुझे साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में ऐसा लगता है कि ह्यूमैनिटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट विषय है जो आपने शुरू में भी कहा आपके भाषण में बीच में देखा और एंड में भी उसी से आपने किया तो ह्यूमैनिटी मुझे लगता है तो मेरा ये भी जो जहाँ पे आप स्टूडेंट्स होंगे फिर से दोहरा रहा हूँ मैं आपका डिसर्टेशन हो चाहे आप थीसिस हो कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट बना रहे हो छोटे से बड़ा तो वहां पे जरूर ह्यूमैनिटी इथिक्स मोरल सर ने एक क्या है जीपी चैट जीपीटी चैट जीपीटी आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस जैसे 2-3 एग्जांपल दिए जो हमारे लिए रियल चैलेंज फेस होने वाला है आगे क्योंकि बताइए अगर सर ने बताया कि अगर वही काम करने लगेंगे तो हमारा ब्रेन कब काम करेगा हमारी ह्यूमैनिटी क्या चीज गलत है क्या सही है ये कब सोचेंगे हम तो हर चीज बेबस हो जाएंगे आप अगर आप मशीन आपके लिए सोच रही है तो आप कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे ना इसीलिए आप देखेंगे क्या है सर जीपीटी बजट होगा चैट जीपीटी तो चैट जीपीटी जो है उसका ऑलरेडी डिबेट शुरू हो गया है और आने वाले समय में देखिएगा कि इसमें हाई कोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ये सारे जो है आपके आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के बहुत सारे इश्यूज रहेंगे ये हमारे जो फैमिली कोर्ट और ये कोर्ट वो कोर्ट मुझे लगता है आने वाले समय में इंटेलिजेंट कोर्ट और ये सब वो भी हो जाएंगे है ना तो ये बहुत बड़ा आने वाले समय में फोकस रहेगा तो सर आपको बहुत बहुत थैंक्स और रानू मैडम ने जो नेवी की टेक्नोलॉजीज बताई हमारा तो 1958 से यही काम रहा है और चाहे एयर एनवायरमेंट हो चाहे वाटर एनवायरमेंट हो वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट और हम इस पे निरंतर हमारा काम चालू रहे जारी रहेगा और उसमें काफी सारी चीजें हमने की है और आगे चल भी रही है तो हमारा जो सोलर एनर्जी रिलेटेड है या फिर जो दूसरी एनर्जी कन्वेंशनल एनर्जी कन्वेंशन तो सारे पे या फिर वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट बहुत सारे विषय हम लेते हैं और जैसा कि एनवायरमेंट बहुत डाइवर्स फील्ड है मैडम ने बताया तो उनका एक ग्रीन फायर क्रैकर्स है या फिर दूसरी टेक्नोलॉजीज है ट्रीटमेंट या फिर सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट में तो काफी सारा हम कर रहे हैं और नेरी आने वाले समय में हमेशा काम करता रहेगा और पर्टिकुलरली स्टूडेंट से मेरा जो है रिक्वेस्ट है कि जब भी कोई आप एनवायरमेंटल साइंस एंड इंजीनियरिंग के प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाते हैं तो एटलीस्ट आप नेरी को याद करें क्योंकि हमारे पास भी साइंटिस्ट हैं और आप हम जब कहीं वैल्यूएशन में जाते हैं अपने मॉडल्स देखते हैं तो उतना कुछ तो होता है बहुत अच्छे होते हैं लेकिन कुछ ऐसा होता है कि कुछ स्टैटिक मॉडल होते हैं और कुछ कन्वे नहीं कर पाते ये चीजें तो मुझे लगता है कि आपका जो आज का कार्यक्रम है इसमें काफी चीजें आपको सीखने को मिली होगी और आप जो है डेटा कैसे प्रोसेस कर रहे हो उसको किस तरह से उसको प्रेजेंट करना है एनवायरमेंट के फील्ड पे तो मुझे लगता है काफी चीजें कर सकते हैं तो मैडम आपका एक बहुत बहुत थैंक्स इसमें कि आपने इस अवसर पे इतना अच्छा वो गाइड किया स्टूडेंट्स को और हमारे निदेशक महोदय जो आज किसी कारणवश छुट्टी पे है आपके व्यक्तिगत कारणों से उनका बहुत बहुत थैंक उनका कॉन्स्टेंट में जो है सपोर्ट रहता है और मेरे सभी डिविजन्स जो डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली जुड़े रहे थे चाहे एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हो फाइनेंस एंड अकाउंट्स हो परचेज हो डायरेक्टर्स ऑफिस हो गैरेज हो गेस्ट हाउस हो सभी का बहुत बहुत थैंक्स और अन्य R&D डिविजन सपोर्ट डिविजन और जो गेस्ट इनवाइटीज है हमारे रिटायर्ड कलीग्स है और हमारे सीनियर आर्बिट्रेटर सर मैं देख पा रहा हूँ या बहुत सारे लोग हैं इस प्रति का नाम नहीं ले सकता लेकिन उनका भी बहुत बहुत थैंक्स मेरे फेलो मेरे साइंटिस्ट और टेक्निकल स्टाफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्टाफ और वाघवानी सर को भी मैं देख पा रहा हूँ मैं नाम नहीं लिया राम साहब को भी देख पा रहा हूँ और बाकी जितने भी आए हैं और मीडिया पर्सन सभी का बहुत बहुत थैंक्स और यदि मैं किसी का नाम नहीं ले पा रहा हूँ या भूल गया हूँ तो मुझे क्षमा प्रार्थी हूँ और हृदय से उनको मैं माफी मांगता हूँ और मेरे प्रोजेक्ट असिस्टेंट हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट के जो हमेशा एक एनर्जी का स्रोत रहे एक हमेशा सक्सेस जो है किसी भी कार्यक्रम को करने में एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई है उन्होंने हमने लास्ट 1 वीक में लैब किया था तो जितने हमारे रिसर्च फेलोज है प्रोजेक्ट असिस्टेंट्स है वो आज भी है और वो हमेशा मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि मेरे हमारे साथ रहेंगे और आज भी और कल भी और हमेशा के लिए चाहे कहीं भी जाए अपना फ्यूचर बनाए फ्यूचर के लिए भी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। इसी के साथ मैं यहाँ पे कार्यक्रम समाप्ति की घोषणा करता हूँ और आप सभी को अनुरोध करता हूँ कि आप अपनी जगह पे हो जाए। हम अभी राष्ट्रगीत नाट्य सबको बैठने के लिए क्योंकि रिफ्रेशमेंट अभी आपको यहीं से मिलेगा और अब थोड़ा सा बैठ जाइए क्योंकि हमारे जो अंदर ये मान के तो जाने के लिए और यहाँ